Hey, Brett and Matt from Suede, great to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you too.
Yeah. First of all, how does it feel to be in Turku? You're gonna play here tonight and the weather is just plain beautiful.
It's really exciting. Nice. I was saying before, we've been to Finland a few times and it's always been under a kind of cloud of grey, and we haven't been able to leave the hotel, being kind of soft Englishmen. And it's been absolutely incredible. I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah. I didn't realise you had trees or anything. I thought it was just a ball of ice.
Nah, get out of here. The Suede has been playing, or you guys have played in Finland quite a few times. And if I remember correctly, first time you played in Finland was in 1993 after the first album came out, and you played Tavastia Club in Helsinki.
Very first European.
Yeah.
It was the first date on the European tour, actually.
Really?
Yeah. So Helsinki was the first place really we'd ever played outside the UK.
Okay. What kind of memories you have from that one?
I remember we got chased by some autograph hunters who were dressed like kind of almost like nautical themed. You know, they were sort of like dressed in these little denim caps, and they had beards, didn't they? They looked like Captain Haddock.
Finnish autograph hunters are a weird breed. Everywhere else in the world, it's teenage girls. Yeah. But in Finland, it's deeply serious old men who and they all have those squares, don't they? Squares of cardboard.
Yeah.
That you have to sign your full name on.
Really?
And they get so pissed off if you don't do it right.
They didn't really know who we were. They just knew that they should get our autographs. They didn't actually really know. So I just signed my name, Michael Jackson.
Well, after the Bloodsport came out, Brett, you mentioned that it was actually kind of hard album to make because you kind of had to refine what you wanted to be because you have such a long history.
Yeah.
How much is it different right now because the Bloodsport's under your belt? And
I think it's hugely different. Yeah, I think Bloodsports was an enormous pivotal moment for the band. It gave us a kind of license to carry on playing. I think in a way. I think if we hadn't have made a new album, I think we would have been okay. Well, this is boring playing just songs from the past the whole time. I don't think any of us want to do that. Really not. And I think it kind of, you know, you need to make new music in order to justify carrying on in a way. I think that's what bands do. That's what bands that have got any sort of self-worth do. It's got any dignity. And it was a big turning point, you know, discovering that we can make a great new album, and I think it, you know, spurred us on to want to make a new album.
Yeah. But how do you feel about the fact that, you know, your fans like me who like started listening you in the early 90s, you have sort of a nostalgic factor, you know, for the old fans. And excuse me the term classic rock, but you are rock, and for lots of fans you are kind of classic band. So is there kind of do you have to think about it? You want to make new stuff, but there are still people who just want to hear the old hits.
It's a total balancing act. I mean, today is a really good example because we don't come to Finland very often. We know that, you know, there's lots of people who probably haven't seen the band and would like to see Animal Nitrate and, you know, and New Generation and all those kind of things. But at the same time, the minute it's just that, I think you just die a little. You know what I mean? It's just you can't make it good if it's just the same thing over and over again. So it's a real balancing act. So, you know, tonight we'll be playing a lot of old stuff and a few new things, and kind of just weaving them together. I mean, I think they fit. The thing to remember also is that for us, it's still the same band. It's the same band that it's been for 17 years. You know what I mean? Yeah. And although there is that gap there, you know, Bloodsports it's just part of what we've done.
I think the balancing act is the balancing act between keeping the audience engaged and keeping yourself engaged. If we were just playing songs from the past, we just switch off. Yeah. After a while, you know, we played those songs so many times before, and we wouldn't be able to invest the concert with any kind of like passion after a while. And you have to inject new songs in there just to keep yourself on your toes, and that's where the balance lies, I think.
Yeah. Well, do you remember a certain moment when you made your breakthrough and you like got a little too overboard because you were young guys and suddenly, you know, all the success came quite quickly? Do you have like this certain moment when you thought that maybe I overdid this?
Yeah, but I think you have to. You know, that's literally that's life. You know, I mean, we'd been on the dole, and we'd never had any success, and we'd spent 3 years playing in literally to nobody. If to go in a year from that to playing 10,000 people, you know, on front covers of magazines and stuff, if you took that in your stride, you'd be, well, again, you'd be the most boring human being possible. I think this pendulum has to swing too far, and then come back.
Okay. That's what rock and roll is, isn't it? It's about kind of going too far. It's about excess. It's about letting it go to your head. It's about all of those things. It's about this fragile, complex mix of sort of ego and instability and all of these things. That's what makes it interesting.
Well, has rock and roll turned, like during last 10 years, to more professional?
Yes, I think it's a much more of a career choice now. Strangely enough, when there's less money in it, but I kind of sense that young bands are more. I mean, you know, when we first started, the media, I think, was less, not less sophisticated, but it was. I think now it goes through these patterns where it's well trodden. You know, a new band emerges and they're promoted in a certain way, blah 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 blah. And I think when Suede first emerged, it was a kind of the media was sort of like finding its feet in lots of ways, and Suede became what happened with our career almost like became sort of like a blueprint later on throughout the 90s. So yeah, I think it's a shame. You know, I do think things have sort of become quite cyclical now.
Well, as a last question, until we're running out of time, what would be the most Spinal Tap-ish moment you had during your careers, like shows where everything went wrong or stuff like that? Do you remember any certain things?
One of my favourite memories, just for the ridiculousness of it, is we once played a show for the eclipse, the solar eclipse. Yeah. We once played a radio show for the eclipse, so we mimed. Yeah. So you've got that. The fact that you have the eclipse on the radio anyway is slightly pointless.
We were miming on the radio.
We were miming on the radio to it, but not just that. We were doing a show the day before and they couldn't get us there in time, so they hired a helicopter for us. So they spent tens of thousands of pounds flying us all the way to this show where they played our record and we mimed on it. And it was one of those moments where you're on stage. And it's Radio 1 crowd, so it's kind of like kids and stuff. And you're on stage and you're thinking, I mustn't think too hard about what I'm doing with my life. Because this is fucking stupid, you know.
Well, that's pretty Spinal Tap-ish, I must say.
I think like most bands, Spinal Tap reads like a documentary. Yeah. You know, the number of times we've done gigs where you walk out what you think's stage and it's not stage. Yeah. And then you have to get walked around these walkways, you know, it's just... Yeah, it's all happened. Yeah.
Thanks a lot for your time, Brett and Matt from Suede.
Thank you.
Thanks.